What's up, guys? This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he, just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. And guys, continue to bear with me as I'm still nursing this cold. I work outside, so, my colds, they tend to hang around a little bit longer than normal, but I got it under control, baby. I'm all right. You know what I mean? It takes a lot to keep a good man down, you know what I'm saying? And I am he. So, anyway, like I was saying, big shout out to everybody in the comment section of the last video who wished me well and suggested, certain remedies, for the cold and the cough and the throat and all that stuff. I'm on top of it, y'all. But anyway, listen, guys, I want to just say a few things, a few more thoughts about the debut of The Mandalorian, that happened a couple of days ago. Everybody's talking about it. And, one of the topics that I see is popping up right now is, I guess it's the question of the fact that a lot of people who are considered Fandom Menace are acknowledging The Mandalorian as a good, solid debut. Like, does this somehow compromise the integrity of the Fandom Menace? Are we looking like hypocrites, or you know what I mean? And these are valid concerns. It's like I've heard these concerns from other YouTubers that I have a great deal of respect for, and I've heard it from a bunch of sad sacks out there who were just salivating at the idea that it just took one little show, to make the Fandom Menace drop their convictions and things like that. And all I can say to that, guys, is that kind of thing. It's open to interpretation, but for what it's worth, I think that what gives the Fandom Menace its integrity and its credibility is the fact that most of us are quite honest, with how we feel and our convictions. Like, I feel very confident when I hear certain other YouTubers who are Fandom Menace expressing their concerns. It doesn't mean that I have to agree with everything that, this person or that person might be saying. It's just that one thing that I'm sure of is that I'm getting their honest point of view. And trust is what we've been standing for all along, against the so-called shill media who's just going to say any old shit just to toe the party line. You know what I mean? With people who we trust, that's not the case. It's like the people who we trust, we hear how they feel, how they think, and we know that we're getting that real, And I've always valued that, in the last few years or so. There are certain people that I wait to hear their take on certain things, you know what I mean? And I know that there are certain people who wait to hear my take on things, because one thing I'm always going to do is I'm always going to tell the truth. This is not a new concept. Us telling the truth is how most of us got in trouble as the Fandom Menace in the first place, because people didn't want to hear us tell the truth. They wanted to shut us down. So if you can tell the truth about something that you don't like, then why wouldn't people be able to trust you to tell the truth about what you do like? It doesn't compromise anything, especially being that most of us, in this case, talking about The Mandalorian, most of us have said we are cautiously optimistic, but these are our first impressions on the pilot episode. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like what we've seen, we like. All right, now going forward, if we don't like what we see going forward, then guess what? You're dealing with those same honest people who are going to say how they feel, about what they don't like. I've yet to see anybody come out and say, all right, guys, it's safe. Let's go get Disney Plus. Let's give Disney all our money. Nobody said that I know of. To me, as far as I can tell, everyone just said, it seems to be a pretty general consensus across the board that most of us appreciate the effort that we see has been put into that pilot episode. It kind of feels like people are putting thought into it, and in consideration, to the lore and the overall story. Does it mean that it's perfect? No. Does it mean that it's a shoo-in, that this is going to be like classic Star Wars? No, it doesn't. It just means that they came out with a good first episode. Now, some of the concerns that I have, about The Mandalorian here is not, I don't have any problems with what I saw. I kind of have problems with what I didn't see. Now, one thing that I saw in the trailer that I didn't see in that premiere episode would be the woman. I think there were like two women who were featured in the trailers leading up to this. And that would be a major point of consideration for me going forward. because I think with the trailer, when I saw the trailer, one point that I made was I would keep my eye on those female characters. I actually said that in the trailer and the teaser. I said keep your eye on the female characters because they're kind of tricky with the way that they portray females today. Now the Mandalorian, that first episode was very hardcore. It was very it was very masculine. But we know it's not going to continue on that way. So it's kind of a matter of where they're going to take it from here. Now that he's found the little baby, is he just going to become like some softy for this baby who is obviously the key to it all, whatever that is, or, is he going to seek out this woman, who's going to, like tell him about himself and his masculine ways. Nobody wants to see that shit. Is that what's going to happen here? It's like, these are the things that I still am concerned about. Like, I don't have a problem with male and female characters being equal partners. I have no problem with them getting to know one another, maybe even being love interests, whatever. I have no problem with that. But, excuse me, guys, as far as the, the narrative that Disney Lucasfilm has been putting out there, that, the Force is female and all that stuff, that is a danger, So rest assured, my friends, those of us who are respected, voices in the Star Wars community, whether you consider yourself Fandom Menace or not, rest assured, I don't think anybody is dancing in the streets and running around saying that this is it, Disney is forgiven. I've always said from the very beginning that the battleground is Star Wars Episode 9. I've always said that, even as far back as before when Solo came out. People were asking, well, what if Solo is good? And some people do say that Solo was good. When I saw Solo and I didn't pay for it, I haven't given Disney any of my money, since The Last Jedi. But there are ways to see it, guys. There are certain links on the internet. Ask a friend. You know what I mean? There are ways to see it. So when I did see it, it didn't threaten me to say that, look, Solo wasn't terrible. It certainly wasn't as bad as The Last Jedi. That doesn't threaten me, guys, and it shouldn't threaten you. I've always said since I was a kid that a man should never, ever be afraid to speak the truth, no matter what it is. Even if, somehow, it makes you change your own perspective. You shouldn't be afraid to speak the truth as you discover it. So, like I said, with the Solo thing, it didn't threaten anything as far as the Fandom Menace is concerned. It's like the issues are still there with the way that they treated the legacy characters, the way that they treated the fans. It's like none of that is going away. But of course, there are going to be some people who are going to pay into it. Some people are going to get Disney Plus. I think we all knew that from the very beginning. There are some people who are going to be brought back, especially when they see that the show actually looks like it's quality. And right now, of course, the show is enjoying a good word of mouth, so that's what's going to happen. But I just want everyone to understand that I've said this before too, that if Star Wars does get better under Disney, you have the Fandom Menace to thank for it, okay? So don't be afraid to hear the Fandom Menace or people who you consider to be Fandom Menace give something a favorable review, because this is what we've been asking for. We wanted good Star Wars. So if we begin to see good Star Wars, rest assured that whoever is producing it, whoever's behind it, they heard or at least considered the feelings of the fans. And right now, I would say we've been the loudest of the critics. So, I feel good about it, guys. I don't see any hypocrisy in it, and I don't see any reason for anyone to be afraid about the Fandom Menace losing its credibility. All right, so, that's how I feel about it. You guys, of course, can get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about it. Does the success or potential success of The Mandalorian, does that threaten the Fandom Menace at all and what it is that we stand for? I say no. There are certain concerns that continue to be, but you have to judge these things by steps. And right now, the initial episode looks good. What comes after this, I reserve the right to speak my mind on that. All right, so, let me know how you guys feel about that. How many different ways do you think this thing can go wrong? Like I said before, the feminist aspect is still lurking, not the female character in herself, in the fact that she would be there, but that feminist agenda, will she be, representing that or not? Because we already saw a person of color in the character, that Carl Weathers was playing. But nobody really tripped off that because, like I said in my initial review, everyone who was in it felt like they had a legitimate place in it. There was no forcing of diversity that we saw in that first episode. Now, as it goes forward, that's going to be a different question. And how this is going to tie into the rise of the First Order, there's so many different ways this thing can misfire. But don't lose your shit just because you see trusted names in the so-called Fandom Menace giving something a favorable review. I think most of us, we have our priorities straight. Most of us have our convictions, we have our passions, and that's not going anywhere. And I can only speak for myself, but based on what I've seen, I do trust the people that I trust and the names that I trust and the channels that I trust. So that's how I feel, guys. And like I said, you can have your say in the comment section. And of course, you can like, you can share, and you can subscribe. And I don't say that lightly, guys. All right. And when you subscribe, please hit the notification bell and press all. That really helps. And of course, you can catch me on Twitter. I will be there. All right, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.